Today we're diving into our thoughts and your thoughts about Brandon Sanderson's newest secret project, Isles of the Emberdark.
How does it compare to the other secret projects?
Let's find out.
If you have not read Isles of the Emberdark, have no fear. This first part is all spoiler free. You're going to get our initial thoughts on what we thought of the book, if you should read the book, what did we like about the book, and would we recommend it?
And we'll definitely let you know before any spoilers leak out. So if you're worried about that, don't worry anymore.
But first off, to kick it off, this book, Isles of the Emberdark, Jaden has his completely sealed still.
Unopened. You can probably see the glare.
I know. Unbelievable. He hasn't been able to hold himself back from opening up that book. I wasn't able to hold myself back.
I have it on my Kindle. This one has been opened.
That's right. That's right. But this book, to be able to read this one, you have to have read everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone unless they've pretty much exhausted every other Cosmere Sanderson book.
Yes, and this is actually what Brandon Sanderson says himself.
Really?
Yep, he's like, all of my other books are written, so anyone can just pick them up and read them. This book, you have to have read everything. I'm talking Mistborn, Way of Kings, all the way through this other secret projects and everything.
Definitely the other secret projects.
Yes.
And Arcanum Unbounded for sure.
Yes. And so it's got tons and tons of Easter eggs to all these things, but they're not just Easter eggs. A lot of these things are essential knowledge.
Yeah, it's
things
essential plot points.
Yes, plot points. Things are going to go over your head. I imagine entire scenes would be extremely boring without that. So I think the kind of audience that's going to be reading this book for the first time should actually start pretty small, because it's got to be a small subset of Brandon Sanderson's audience.
Yeah,
completely, that can actually read it.
And I will say, from the people that I've talked to so far, and I know we'll talk a lot about feedback on the book, the internet's reviews of the book later in the video, but a lot of the people that I've talked to didn't even know that this book had come out. Apparently the launch has just been a little bit more, not secret, but just a little bit more standard. There hasn't been a ton of hype behind it. I don't know if that's intentional, but that's the vibe that I'm getting from a lot of people that I've talked to.
Honestly, I would blame this specifically on the title of the Backer Kit project.
Yeah.
The title of the Backer Kit project is specifically talking about the leather bound for Words of Radiance. And I know my dad, he'd forgotten that he'd bought this book over a year ago. And I'm like, hey, Dad, this book came out. Are you going to start reading it? He's like, I didn't get a link for it or anything. He's like, there's nothing. And I'm like, it's under the leather bound or like Backer Kit thing. And he's like, oh, he's like, had no idea. He's like, I kept on getting this thing. I hit unsubscribe because I didn't get a leather bound. And so like it was just confusing. So.
And the updates were just way too much for nothing. I don't know. We can talk about the Backer Kit section of this later, but they gave way too many emails with way too little substance, and I was this close to subscribing as well, unsubscribing as well.
I know,
so that's
I know.
They should have done it with the cover art. Like, they already had it. They'd already designed the cover, but they made it so secret that it just stayed secret.
Well,
and the cover's so good.
No, they did. They hadn't had the cover until like it was designed. I mean, maybe 6 months ago they had it.
I don't know. Maybe they should have done an announcement or something better than I expected. Anyway, moral of the story is, if you haven't read it yet, I'm not surprised. Because it seems like that's a common theme with people, even people that are Sanderson fans.
Yes. But Jaden, would you recommend this book to someone who has read all of the Sanderson
Assuming the
stuff?
prerequisites are checked, absolutely. Yes. Hands down, I would recommend this.
Yep. I would say read it. If you're a Sanderson fan, read it. That is all I'm going to say there. I'm going to get more details
Sounds
later.
Sounds like a recommendation to me.
It's a recommendation. It's just because it's more Sanderson and all. I'm going to tell you right now, wasn't in love with this book. It's fine. Anyways, I'm going to leave it right there because I don't want to get any spoilers or anything. But Jaden,
that section's coming, so read the book, come back, and enjoy that part of the video as well.
Yes, but maybe you can give us a little bit more insight if we start with, how does this rank compared to the other secret projects that Brandon Sanderson has written?
I think we'll probably, this is going to be a big foreshadowing to maybe the entire rest of our video, but Marty and I disagree on this book.
You already know?
One of those things that doesn't happen all that often if you're a regular viewer / subscriber to the podcast. I loved it. I will probably rank this as the highest secret project that I've read.
What? I am absolutely shocked. And more than Sunlit Man?
Yes.
Oh,
more than
unbelievable.
Sunlit Man. I know. I was surprised. Everyone was surprised. You might be surprised. Let me know in the comments if you would agree with me. And I have ignored all of everyone's ratings and all everyone's like, oh, it was disappointing, whatever. I think, personally, this is the best secret project.
Oh my gosh, Jaden, I am shook. I am shook, dude.
I thought you'd be surprised by that. That's why I didn't tell you anything about my thoughts.
I am so surprised, dude. So I would rank this absolutely last out of the secret projects.
Wow.
By far last. Like, it's not even close.
Not even close.
Here's the thing.
Above everything else.
I loved all of the other secret projects. My number one is it's actually all three of them are very close for number one. I love Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Like, I have a hard time not putting that number one. Tress and the Emerald Sea, same thing. I don't even...
You flip those two back and forth.
I flip those two back and forth. I love the Sunlit Man, too, for all of these amazing reasons. It connects with the Cosmere, but it also has an incredible backstory and everything. I might have been tainted with the audiobook reader for Sunlit Man. Fantastic. But
tainted in a good way.
If I were to give that ranking and everything, right now, I would probably give it Tress of the Emerald Sea number 1, Yumi second, and then Sunlit Man third, and then Isles of the Emberdark number 4.
And for the record, when we do our secret project rankings like this, we just rank the 4 that are Cosmere specifically related.
Yes.
Obviously, the Frugal Wizard's Guide, that is also a secret project, but it does not count when we rank these because it's kind of unrelated. So, and you'll have to let us know whether you agree with Marty or whether you agree with me. There's no middle ground here. You have to decide and choose and comment which team you're on, because that's... I guess that this is just a polarizing book. Divides the table right down the middle.
I am shocked. I'm not going to lie. I am completely shocked.
There you go.
So it's great. But before you leave, we do want to go through quickly the
non-readers. If you have read it, you're not going anywhere.
Yes.
You're staying right with us.
Yes. But the people who do not want spoilers, if you do not want the book, the design of the book spoiled.
Too late, you're looking at it. So.
No, I'm gonna go into this stuff. Like, haha. No, but we're gonna go through the design of the book. Jaden's reaction. He's opening this book right now, and so we'll go into that. But stay tuned for the end of the video where we will go for our full rating of the book.
Yes.
If you have read the book.
It's like a segue as I open this book. ASMR style.
Wow.
That was
fly
supposed to be a lot more.
The cover comes off with the pages.
Okay.
Really, ripping it so quick.
I mean, I watched you thumb through it, but I mean, this is easily the best designed secret project, and there's no way you can disagree with me.
I will 100% agree with you.
That's what I thought.
This design of this book is a 10 out of 10. Let me tell you, folks. This is crazy. Okay, I want you to know this has the edge black edge
like
pages
Sunlit
that
Man.
are black, just like Sunlit Man.
The book is black and gold, which is way cool.
But check this out. The coolest part of this book. Open it up. Yeah, it's white pages, sure. It's black with silver writing for the middle of the book, and then it goes to white pages from the front of the book. Crazy, crazy stuff. It looks gorgeous with a black paper back with the silver writing. I loved it. I actually read a lot of this book with the physical copy so I could have that experience. And I will tell you, it was fantastic.
I read most of this book on the Kindle, so I didn't get that experience, and I regret it now. Black pages, I was not even expecting. That is so cool, and I imagine really hard to bind. Because you can't just do one thing. You have to have half of it, and then a certain point turns to black pages. You're printing in different inks. That is a work of art. Easily the best book they've done so far.
Yeah, I would easily say this is the best designed book I've ever seen in my life.
It's a shelf copy. The premium edition is the one that we're talking about here, the one from the backer kit. And if you order from the website with the kit that comes in something that looks like this, then you're going to get this same version. But it is incredible and well worth it. It comes with a few extra things.
Came
with you.
This really cool sticker. I don't know how well you can see it here. It's basically just the cover of the book with the same bird, but it's textured and it's a little bit shiny, as you can see.
Oh, where's
it's
Dusk?
Absolutely incredible.
Here he is.
Jaden's got Dusk here. Came
Dusk.
with another pin, exclusive pin, and it is Dusk this time.
He's very cool. He has both birds.
Carrying 2 birds on there, and then lastly, the
Oh no! Dusk has died.
Dusk. The last part is this bookmark from one of the. They always pick one of the key paintings within the book to make
Yep.
it a bookmark.
And it's good.
So it's a good one. It's a good one. It's actually a really little bit of a dark bookmark. It's
I've never been the biggest fan of the bookmarks that are included. I really like the pins. I really like the stickers and the books. I think the bookmarks like the least. thing that I like.
The Sunlit Man bookmark is so
The Sunlit
good.
Man
That's a
bookmark
good
is cool.
bookmark. Yeah, I like that. I actually use that bookmark quite
That's
frequently.
probably why it's not on the shelf.
Yeah,
I think I might be using it too.
That and the Tudor Ramble bookmark. That's a
Ooh,
good
that's a good
bookmark.
one.
Yes.
That is a good one.
Shout out to them. Well, great. That is the end of the spoiler-free section.
We're about to cut into spoilers, so this is your fair warning to pause it now, save it, put it on your YouTube watch later list so that it comes back later when you want to watch it. But from now on, we are slinging spoilers.
Okay, Jaden, spoilers. What in the world? How in the world did you end up so differently than me on this book? I'm absolutely blown away with your little tease of how this is going.
Well, and this is exactly why I did not say anything. We've talked a bunch of times. We're like, oh, you're reading it? Oh, where you at? And I haven't said anything.
I'm surprised because I couldn't hold back. I just started going off one time.
Yeah, we almost recorded a podcast a few weeks ago. We were talking about it.
We were on our way to play disc golf. We almost recorded it in the car on the way to disc golf because I was just unhinged.
That would have been awesome.
I know.
Actually. Probably would have been our
great.
best episode ever.
Would have been
in
great.
the car. But I will say one of the big reasons that I loved this book so much is because it almost became a culmination of so many different ideas and cultures and stories that we've heard, and almost I really liked Six of the Dusk, the Arcanum Unbounded story as well.
Yep.
For this reason, just such a fun journey, whereas everything else is getting to this point of you almost feel like power creep. There's okay, well now there's these gods and shards and all these things that are happening across the Cosmere. It just feels like everything's leveling up and getting more powerful and so it's nice to go back to a very primitive experience for people that are still real people with real problems and the same issues, and you hear this throughout the book. It's just I think it's a really cool way to introduce those really cool evolutions of the Scadrians or the Rosharans, but also include a very realistic portrayal of a new world. I don't know. All of that to me just made it a really interesting story, and I think had so much more complexity, depth of character, and even than Sunlit Man.
Really?
Yes.
I'm very different with you
Okay,
on some of these things.
Let's hear your raw thoughts.
But I will agree with you. I actually Six of the Dusk was my favorite Arcanum Unbounded story.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, and I loved that. That was still my favorite part of the book. And so
My favorite part of this book is the part that wasn't in this book.
It was the flashbacks in this book.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, see,
There were
the
some
whole
flashbacks.
story was in this book.
Okay.
And Brandon Sanderson talks about how he put it all in, but he put it in pieces and stuff like that.
It's pretty smart.
Still my favorite part of this book.
Okay.
Which is crazy. For me, this book is kind of the opposite for me. I feel like Brandon Sanderson was so much all tell and no show in this book. He told you, just show me things. You used to show me things in Mistborn, in Way of Kings. I used to have to figure out things just by what little comments other characters would say, instead of you just rattling off these comments and facts and things throughout the book. Second of all, the depth of character I feel like was not there in this book.
Okay.
I feel like the characters were super hard to relate to and really shallow for me and just hard to get to. Whereas, again, Mistborn and Way of Kings, that was the reason why I love Brandon Sanderson. His ability to make characters that are so deep and so, the best way I can put it is real, was absolutely mind-blowing. I'm like, this is exactly how someone would react in real life if they were in this situation. And I did not feel like I got this in this book very much at all.
Do you think it was a specific character?
Yes. I had a lot of trouble with Starling. I don't know what it was with her that I just couldn't connect. I feel like every single thing that she was doing was just she was supposed to be this person who's learning how to be a leader. But you know what? We've seen really good stories on people learning to become a leader, especially in the Way of Kings. That is Way of Kings' strength. You see Kaladin. He is learning to build his crew around him and his bridge mates and everything as he's going through these horrible experiences. Again, we are assuming that you've read all of the books that Brandon Sanderson has written before this. So
Yeah, probably.
A little bit skip for 30 seconds if you haven't read The Way of Kings. This is
go.
the first book. But Kaladin is so good at getting his crewmates together, going through trials together. You go through the struggle that he has with them not understanding him, and they don't want to do anything, and they're slacking off. And Starling goes through this too, but you never get the sense that she's done the work to pay off to get the trust that they give her at the end.
What? That's interesting. And I'm validating your opinions, but also saying that I don't want to see the same leadership story again.
You're right.
I intentionally want to see a different version of leadership growth. And I still think she does do that through flashbacks and through experiences with the crew. And she learned some things across the entire book that she was not ready for at the beginning, that she tried her best with the effort that she put in at the beginning and the skill set that she had, but she needed to go through a lot of those journey elements to be able to bring her crew together. And it is kind of cool how they all worked together and they were good at what they did, but it wasn't until the end that they were good together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a different leadership story.
Of course, I want a different story. It doesn't need to be the same story. But for me, I think that there are a lot of things that are general principles that you have to have for like actually gaining like leadership trust with the people that you're working with. And I think those things weren't really touched on. I don't know. One of my favorite things from the Way of Kings book.
Another pin died.
Was another one down. It has a quote here from Orson Scott Card in this book, and he's the guy who wrote Ender's Game. I love Ender's Game, one of the best, and it's one of the best for his character development of Ender, who is incredible leader.
We're not talking about the movie, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, we're not talking about the movie.
For the record, let the record show.
Yes. He says, "It is rare for a fiction writer to have much understanding of how leadership works and how love really takes root in the human heart. Sanderson is astonishingly wise." And
wow, you pulled that quote out of nowhere. That was fantastic.
I've thought about that quote ever since I read The Way of Kings for the first time. And I think Orson Scott Card hits that on the nose with The Way of Kings, but he does not hit that with this book. And I just feel like it's lacking that feeling of just I would follow Starling and I am in by the end of this. I just do not feel that connection with Starling at all. I never see that.
I think one of the reasons that I like it so much, and we're going to keep harping on this because this is so interesting how vastly we differ here. I really appreciated the not perfect golden statue of leadership qualities from everyone in this book. I think the leadership on their planet, with Patchy, with the trappers, where they're they don't like each other, they respect each other, and they make that work. And they do so by figuring things out along the way. And I think that's a part of the leadership story here, where they're not excellent, but they're figuring it out. And I think that is what makes it more special than just, a similar story that we've already seen.
That I get you there, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with imperfect leadership, but I need them to earn it if they're going to be a leader by the end. And it just kind of, I don't know why I never connected with any of the characters with Starling's story.
Wow.
I could not do it. I enjoyed Dusk's story and his connection with Vathi. All of that stuff was so interesting to me, and I was just begging for it to go back to that. And I would say his book felt very young adult style book.
Interesting.
And it's his writing style changed, whereas other books are very they're almost dark. They're it feel more of the best way I can describe it is they're very Christopher Nolan-esque. Christopher Nolan, he writes a Batman movie, The Dark Knight.
Intensity.
It's super intense. It's so real. As you're experiencing this movie, you're this is exactly what would happen in real life. And what I feel like happened with this is Brandon Sanderson went from The Way of Kings and Mistborn, from writing something that was Christopher Nolan style, esque. Even with the Sanderlanches, Christopher Nolan puts together his own type of Sanderlanche with these things. But he went from that to Isles of the Emberdark, frankly, Wind and Truth, to comparing this to New Age Avengers and New Age Marvel.
It's unwatchable.
That's how it feels for me with this stuff, because I'm it feels so surface level. It doesn't feel real the way that they're responding to each other anymore, and that's how I'm feeling during this book. It is such a harsh critique for me.
It's very harsh.
But he feels he has gone for me in these books from Christopher Nolan to new Marvel movies. And like cheap jokes, cheap moments, and I'm not connected with any of these characters.
That's so interesting. And I think it's very valid the way that you put it. And I think that one of the things that I like in a story is to be able to kind of paint my own picture of events and thoughts and ideas as I'm reading it. I know one of the things that I really, really love, and I've said on multiple episodes before, parallelism is one of my favorite things. I love the fact that Starling and Dusk have such very different experiences. Starling being a juvenile dragon where the culture has existed forever. They're the leaders in all these communities and they just run the world, like Cosmere basically. And Dusk, who is barely surviving on one of the oldest planets with the fewest technology elements possible. Like they could not be further opposed as to their upbringing and their experiences, right?
Yep.
Starling has had everything she's ever needed, but she's felt limited in her ability to just care about things. And Dusk cares immensely about things that try to kill him all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting combination, but also an interesting dichotomy, juxtaposition, if you will. But it's one of those things that I think I loved about the book because they both come at this same problem so differently, but so well together. And I just think that's a great story. I think the journey that Dusk goes on throughout this whole book is a very relatable story. Like watching progress happen around you and saying, no, like I will not be left behind by the wave of progress.
Yeah. I like, that's a really good perspective, and I think it's really good, and that's why I like the Dusk side of these things. I'll accept what you're saying.
Maybe it's because, and I think let's go back to maybe there's part of us that's like framing this via a certain lens. We were both disappointed by the 5th book in Stormlight Archive for sure, and I think that affected probably why it took us so long to get into this. But also, I really, really, really want the dragon story to be awesome. Yeah, and I'm probably giving them a lot of grace. And I recognize that about myself, but I think the potential for the dragon's story is so high.
The Dragonsteel books.
Yeah, Dragonsteel and Silverlight and all these things that could be just magnificent, that I want it to be so bad that I'm maybe letting things go that I'm not harping on.
I will say he did put together a good Sanderlanche, unlike Wind and Truth.
Cool.
I was like, that's all I'll say with that, with Wind and Truth. But
you've seen that video.
Yeah, they talk specifically about Wind and Truth like in here, and like I think they like mention it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, they do talk about yes.
Like some of the events that happened there. So you would have things spoiled to you if you had not read Wind and Truth. And
that's true, but you wouldn't have noticed it. There's no way you would have noticed it.
Okay, well maybe we'll leave it there. but I don't.
He does that a lot too. Like he'll tease the ends of things and tease important character plot points, and you just won't notice.
Yeah.
We've seen that before.
No,
definitely.
It's good, and he does that.
If I was to get into that, I would get blasted for spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah, I almost said something, so maybe I won't say anything else.
Let's move on.
There's no way you've read this book and not read the other ones, right? Maybe.
Hey, we only said it like 6 times.
Roast us in the comments if that's not true. Okay, I want to see it. Tell me why we're horrible.
Marty can read those.
I'll read.
Makes me feel so bad when I spoil things for people.
Yeah, I feel bad too, but I will say so. Parts of this story that were interesting to me, they were basically flying on the Millennium Falcon. I don't know if you felt that way.
I didn't feel that way.
Well, to me, this was like it's a junkyard like ship. It's like built from like a bunch of other pieces and everything. This is straight the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. And it just so happens like they didn't go this direction, but I was just waiting for them to say, but it's also the fastest in the
sneaky fast.
Yeah, fastest in the Cosmere and all these things, and can do all these crazy crap because it's got all these different pieces and stuff. In fact, I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the future. But
very slow and basically made of paper mache. So.
That's right. So
they did have some cool stuff though. Like you got to admit that the advancements in technology in this book compared to the entire rest of everything in the Cosmere was cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We saw a freaking shard gun.
Okay.
I loved that part.
Super cool. But here's the thing, Jaden. All of these parts that I love, like the shard gun part and the part with Six of the Dusk, are all chapters that he wrote years ago.
Still cool.
That's what I'm saying. is like he wrote them years ago, and the parts that he did not write years ago are the parts that I'm having trouble with, which is what is concerning me, because I'm like,
because of trajectory question.
Yes, it still feels like this is a book that he potentially wrote. I think he did write before he released Wind and Truth. So now you've got this book and Wind and Truth, and so I'm still willing to give him another book to decide if he's going to make a course change.
We have like 30 years of future books riding on this. So
I know, but if the next book isn't that good, it's going to be putting some of that in jeopardy for me.
Wow.
I know, that's a big statement.
Bold
I'm sorry.
statements coming from the podcast today.
I don't know. Okay, there's some
I
disappointment here.
we usually do talk about on this show what needs improvement on any book that we read. And that's an important thing to remember, right?
Yeah.
And you have given some important things that I have not recognized in some of these parts. But I will say there are some things, even from me, that I would say need improvement in this book. One of those things, I think, is they tended to, and I don't want to say the exact same thing you said is your main thing as far as tell, don't show, but I think, or show, don't tell as being the good thing, the way to do that. I do think that their descriptions of things were just a bit repetitive. Not that they weren't
They did repeat some things like almost verbatim. Like, it was crazy.
I was like, I swear I just heard that. And like, it's just one of those where you're like, did I just hear that? But they'll describe like the same serpents the same way like 3 times. I'm like, okay, wait, use a different word or something. Like, give me some variety. Like just the way that the boat was described or the Emberdark was described. I just felt like that was just lacking a little bit. And that, again, this is my favorite secret project, so not that harsh of a criticism.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things where I was just like, man, that was a kind of a missed opportunity by, I'm not even sure if that's Sanderson or it's the editors.
Yeah.
It's like someone needs to look at this and say, that's the same thing. Do something different.
I know.
I'm glad you noticed it too, because I was like, am I crazy?
Yes.
Maybe I'm re-listening to chapters and being like, oh, he's repeating himself.
I've heard this critique before about Brandon Sanderson, and they feel like I was reading, it was Wind and Truth critiques, and they're like, I think it's because Sanderson has different editors. He's had different editors. Like,
when did the editors change? Do you know?
I think it was right during Rhythm of War or right before then.
Okay.
And he got new editors. I think he has them like all of his own team now.
Well, Tor released
all of those. They did release all of them. But I think he had an editor.
This isn't Tor.
Do not quote me on this. Tell me where I'm wrong on this. But I was reading on Reddit, from what I remember, is that he had an editor that he worked with forever, like from like his earlier books, and then that editor just retired at Tor. And so now he's using some of his own editors.
I think that we might have to spin off an entire video or series about that concept.
Yeah.
Like, what actually builds the like body of work of an author? Is it 100% the author? What percentage of that is the editor?
Well, so this is
a
where
good question to ask.
My theory comes in on like, is his quality of writing changing? Because this I will call the George Lucas theory.
Oh.
So, yes,
okay.
I've been thinking about this. Fun fact. I don't know if it's true or not. Again,
the best kind of fun fact.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Questionable validity.
When George Lucas was directing his first 3 movies of Star Wars, A New Hope and everything, right? He had all these actors in there. He was a no-name director. He was making Star Wars, and he came up with all these lines for people to say in the movies, and particularly for Harrison Ford for Han Solo, he's like, "You got to say this." Harrison Ford looked at him. He's like, "That's stupid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this." And so
you have no
he was
idea
corrected
what
it.
about.
He's like, "That is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And this is something that George Lucas has struggled with.
And you think that made it better?
He is he is not good at writing dialogue. And so all these movies came out, and he was a no-name director at the time. But then all these actors got to know him. They felt comfortable telling him that he was wrong. But then movies 1, 2, and 3, Phantom Menace through the 3rd movie, Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
George Lucas was a huge deal by this point when these movies came out. And so when George Lucas tells you to say something in dialogue, says something about sand and how much he hates the feeling of sand in his hands, like you don't tell George Lucas, "I'm not saying that," because he's freaking George Lucas.
Interesting.
And so you got all of these really weird lines that people are like, what in the world is going on with this dialogue in the newer prequels versus the original movies?
And that's when you're like, it's George Lucas, it must be good.
Yes, it's George Lucas. You can't tell him no. But in the original movies, it's like, it's just George Lucas. We don't know who this guy is. Like, I'm not saying something stupid. So this comes back to my Brandon Sanderson thoughts, is that his original editor had no problem with telling Brandon Sanderson no. Because,
as editors should.
As editors should. And had no problem telling him no because he knew him when he was a no-namer. And he's from Tor. And Tor's probably used to telling authors all the time no. But then Brandon Sanderson hires his own team. And his team has a hard time telling Brandon Sanderson like anything other than, this is awesome. Like, I'm loving this, because they hired him. Like, he hired them, and they want to stay hired. It's a little bit of that conflict of interest.
How many authors do you think have internal editing teams? I mean, it's got to be a lot.
Maybe. I would
Is
actually
it like
guess
auditing, where you're like, you can't audit yourself? That doesn't count.
So here's the thing. I would actually guess not, because
Not a lot.
most authors do not own their own companies. And this is where Brandon Sanderson's very different.
And like you were
from
saying
other
with George Lucas, the fame can be a big driver of that.
Yes.
Bringing more stuff in-house. So it's very, very interesting.
Yes.
And obviously,
like I said, this is my George Lucas theory. I
this is
have
a
no
theory.
idea if this is true or not. But I'm just saying, I'm like, I wonder if they have a harder time critiquing him.
and we talked about this a little bit.
Freaking Brandon Sanderson.
And yes,
Yeah.
that is a big reputation. We talked about this a little bit. If you want to see more of that discussion in our Win and Truth video, where we were like, I can see a difference in editing, like a dramatic difference, where you're almost thinking like someone should have said, throw this chapter away.
Yes.
And it wasn't said, and so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's, again, everyone's going to have their own opinion. Every editor is going to edit differently. We're not saying that one's inherently better than another, but there is something to be said of the creative process requiring, in many cases, some pruning, and we just don't know how much of that is still happening.
Yes.
But I really did like this book.
And
so
see, this is
maybe
the
there's
thing.
a difference in how that was edited.
No, maybe. So Jaden's a big fan of it anyways. If you're one of the editors of Brandon Sanderson, we still love you. Especially
I don't know
Jaden.
about Marty.
Jaden. No, I think you're great. Just tell Brandon Sanderson he's wrong a little bit more. So he could use that.
And whoever is doing his art lately, you're absolutely killing it. Like,
Yes. No,
keep
it
doing
says-
what you're doing.
It is on the front page. It's illustrations by Esther Kandari.
Absolutely phenomenal job,
Yeah.
by the way.
She actually went on Brandon Sanderson's podcast and talked all about the art and everything.
I just think,
and she was
the
fantastic.
team-
She was
the
so
team
cool.
in general, because you've gotten different artists for all these different books.
Yep.
And they just keep leveling it up. Art is just so good. Like the art from Yumi the Nightmare Painter, so different, so excellent.
Yeah, you know that they picked a different artist specifically for each
Yeah.
specific.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, like the team that's picking and the team that's like
Yes, gotcha,
adjudicating that is doing a great job, and they should continue doing so.
Yes.
Keep picking great artists.
It is.
Because I think it just makes the experience better. I just opened this on the podcast, and I kind of regret that. But
Big miss.
I will say, like, that experience, like the reading experience, does change someone's or the book's impact for some people. So I think that's
I
cool.
would agree. How much of the book did you listen to versus read?
I read, again, everyone has their own definition of read, apparently, on the internet. I read on my Kindle probably, I think I said 67-ish% of the book.
The first 67%,
Yes.
and then the rest you listened to?
And then the rest I listened to just because things got a lot busier and I just didn't have my Kindle around. We were traveling and stuff.
Sure.
So
Do you think that impacted your
yes,
perspective on the book?
100%.
Okay,
Because
tell me.
guess what other secret project I read almost all of in print?
It was Sunlit Man.
Sunlit Man.
Yeah.
Which is my second favorite secret project of all time. So I think the experience of reading is almost such a nostalgic one for me, where I get to just sit in a chair and just enjoy a book and get wrapped up in it. And I love to just sit and read for hours and hours when I can, but it's so rare these days that it's hard to get to. But yeah, I do think it affected my reading.
Well, so this is something I was wondering too for me, because
I also edit a bit while I'm reading sometimes. Like there was one clear spelling mistake that I was like, whoa,
no way.
that can't go. That can't fly. But anyway,
Yeah. Also, like, Jaden's way into that kind of thing, so
that's a good point.
I wouldn't have noticed. No, but for me, I listened to the whole thing, and I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons why I had a different experience from you. Because you read most of it, and then you were able to listen to it. And so I had to listen to the whole thing when I was listening. Because I was busy. Like, I had to go to work and drive to and from work. But I wonder if that makes a big difference to the audiobook readers. So
I wonder if there's a way we can do a scientific test between the two of us of like reading versus listening. There's got to be a way to do that.
No, that would be really interesting.
Like if you listened to a book and I read it, and then you read a book and I listened to it, enough times to. I'm not a good scientist.
Yeah, the problem is that it's not a good control because it would have to assume that you and I would come to the same conclusion if we'd both read or both listened.
There's a way to do statistical significance somehow.
Yeah.
That accounts for our differences.
Maybe you look at the reviews on Audible versus the reviews on Goodreads. Yeah, you probably get pretty close. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be perfect because Goodreads, like, I still rate things on Goodreads.
Okay, follow-up video incoming on the difference between reading and listening on ratings. Not going to spoil it yet because I haven't done any research.
I will say, though, it was really interesting. I think Brandon Sanderson talks about this in one of his podcasts, that there are some books that are better for audio than others, and there's some that are better for reading than others. Just some in the style that it's written work better for an audiobook, and some work better for being read. And I've noticed that too, because there are some books that when you're reading it, like, great experience.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading The Hobbit to my son right now, and listening to it, I've listened to some of that audiobook before. It feels like forever as like they're like listing off like all the details and everything. And The Hobbit does that like more than like even Tolkien's like later books. But it's just a different experience. But reading it, like you kind of just experience, you see it in your mind's eye, and you're not like waiting for the next character to say something. But in an audiobook, like you're listening to them list off all these details, and it's just different. The way that you ingest that information.
Skip through maybe a little bit more when you're. Also, names are a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because when I'm reading, I don't even think I'm sounding out these names half the time. You're just kind of like the name is just like a little image. Yeah. You're just like, get that person, and you kind of move on with the story. Yeah. And then I'll hear it, and I'm like, who are they talking about? Like, what name is that? And I'll have to like look it up and be like, oh, yeah, I didn't even try to pronounce that one. So I think that's an interesting.
That's a superpower. I get stuck if I cannot figure out how to pronounce a name. I sit there for a long time. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna make up for this? Like, cannot move on until I do.
Interesting. So many quirks to reading. I think we're discovering along the way. But so there's some things that I would definitely have changed / improved with the book from my personal taste perspective. But I think that's an interesting one. I'm curious. I know we've done this in other episodes as well to kind of go through and see what you think about the book. So as we talk about some of the things that we've seen across the internet, I also invite you to comment your thoughts, your review, your rating, and anything you liked and disliked about the book, because that informs a lot of the conversation, and it's super fun for all of you to see what everyone thought. It's also super fun for us to read what you guys thought about the book. So definitely encourage that.
Okay, Jaden, it's time for Internet Says on the review of this book. I'm going to rapid fire through some of these Goodreads reviews. Then you can rapid fire through some of the ones that you read.
And we will react to them.
And we will react.
Okay, ready to go.
We've got Zeph on Goodreads.
Zeph? Hold on.
It's Zeph.
Oh, Zeph. Was Zeph. I was going to say, there's some interesting opinions.
5 stars. Okay. Insanely good. 34 likes.
Drew. That's it? Wait, that was it?
I know. But he said insanely good, so I thought it was worth sharing.
Okay.
Drew, 5 stars. I received this book for free as a part of a Gamma read.
What?
Not going to lie. This is my favorite Sanderson book since, I don't even know. It's been years. The fandom is going to love this one.
I'm stuck on getting free books. We paid for these books. How does one get in the good graces?
It's a Gamma read, though, so I think he was one of the test readers.
Yeah, but Gamma is like 4 levels down from the beta readers.
See, but we've had this conversation before.
Want free
I don't know
books.
if I want to be a test reader for books. Like,
why not? No, Gamma. There's no changes being made by a Gamma reader.
There could be maybe some spelling stuff that you would have caught, but
yeah, but I can help with that. Like that's right. Legitimately helpful.
Next one.
I'm gonna talk to this guy.
Yes. I'm seeing lots of 5 stars in here. Here's a 4-star one. We are so back, baby.
Why 4 stars?
I don't know.
Some people are so confusing.
After having a mostly meh reaction to the other 4 secret projects, unbelievable, by the way. Those are great books. And feeling horrifically mixed after I read a book toward and feeling as horrifically mixed as I've ever felt about a book toward Wind and Truth. Apparently they liked it. So that's all I'm going to give it.
That's like me.
I know.
Okay, well, let me hit you with this one, which I think this is by Rebecca on Audible, which might be Marty's alter ego on Audible. We don't know. 4 stars.
Who was the person? Did you say Marty?
Rebecca.
Why would it be me?
Because of the review.
Okay.
It's your secret alter ego. That's how
Let's
these
hear
things
it.
work. If it was just Martin, then it wouldn't be as secret.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
It says Cosmere Guardians of the Galaxy is the name of the review,
What?
which I feel like could have been written by you.
That is something I would have said.
It is. It says a sweet sci-fi story inspired by the Pacific Islander wayfinding.
Yes.
Which isn't something we mentioned in the podcast so far, but is a very important detail, which we will get to in a second.
I actually did love that part of the story. I will say.
Says deals with colonialism, exploitation, but doesn't feel as much of a treatise as some of Sanderson's other work. I agree with that. This is less of a let's take a deep look into our souls through the lens of religion, mental health, etc., and more, gee, I hope by the time we have a major space flight, we've gotten over our habit of exploiting lands and peoples for their resources. It's quite a long-winded review. But she goes on to say, overall, Sanderson writes a decent sci-fi. I enjoyed reading it, but it's definitely not his greatest and not my favorite. But it was still worth the read. Give me Stormlight 6, please.
Whoa! So she's still clamoring for Stormlight 6.
In all caps, I would say that is clamoring, yes.
Wow, that is going to be like 10 years from now. I'm sorry. But I would agree with that for the most part. I won't give you my final rating on this book until the end of the
Nice.
podcast.
And we don't do this 5-star lame. No,
Nope.
none of that.
There's Chloe rated it 3 stars.
Oh.
So many mediocre chapters, with the exception of a few exploring the Emberdark.
Exploring the Emberdark, literally the most, nothing happens in the Emberdark.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting perspective.
I don't know. I kind of felt a little bit of that too. Lastly, we've got Will's review. He's like, mixed feelings on this one. 3 stars. This book incorporates my favorite Sanderson short story and incorporates one, in my opinion, of the best protagonists in Dusk. It is incredibly inconsistent and also at points bluntly written. And he goes on and on. But he's like, I hope this isn't a trend. But ever since Wind and Truth, Sanderson's prose has gotten less subtle and incorporated.
Which we generally agree with, as we have said to this point.
Yep. What can only be described as millennial humor. I will.
You have said that. I don't know if it's been on a podcast, but you have said that.
I will.
Like he's delving more into modern millennial humor than his traditional.
This one makes it feel like it's a little bit more okay because it's more modern times. Because he jumped into that with Wind and Truth, and I'm like, okay, this was like 10 days, like before between the Reese book.
Character development doesn't happen that fast.
Yeah, I know, for real. But I think what's happening there, and I forgot to mention that too.
I'm remembering that review now. I'm just killing me.
I know. I'm
so sad.
I think what is going on here is you have not read the book, the Skyward series.
No, I haven't.
It's his young adult fiction book it's sci-fi about this girl who's like, there's spaceships and it's the future, and I don't know how to not spoil that book. I really like those books.
Okay.
But they're very young adult books. It's very Top Gun. It was inspired by Top Gun. That's a great way to describe it. But those ones feel a lot more like Emberdark. The way it was reading felt a lot more like those books. But the thing was, Emberdark felt like it was supposed to be more adult to me than young adult. And so
I think expectations are always going to be a frame of reference, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
To give you context, though, the Audible rating after almost 2,000 reviews is a 4.8, which is very high.
That is very high. Yeah.
So it's something to note. Some of the reviews, while you're looking up, I think, an overall for the other one, some of them say, new favorite secret project by Kyle. This is by far my new favorite among the secret novels. This could honestly be the start of a new series. Please, Brando, I need more Sixth of the Dusk. I would agree with that. And worldbuilding by an anonymous person. It says, like all the secret projects, this is something new for us fans. Even though it's new, it is built on what we already love from Brandon's worlds.
Interesting.
The performance is good, but the volume fluctuates way too much.
Interesting. Yeah, I just looked this up. It was 4.58 stars on Goodreads.
So much lower.
So lower than Audible.
For people that read it versus people that listened to it.
Yes.
And how many reviews does it say?
10,000.
Whoa, that's a lot. This is only 2,000, but I guess it makes sense because people could do.
Yeah.
Goodreads is more of a.
That's interesting. I would have assumed that because Audible is all listened, and this is this has got to have a lot of listening in it too. So
that's what I would have. It probably has a piece of.
But I don't know. I'm surprised by that. So it looks like I'm on the outs. It looks like most people really enjoyed this book, which is fine.
4.58 does not, and especially considering we have a bit of a selection bias here, because the book just came out. Well, not a lot of people know about it, so the people that would give a harsh review are less likely to be the ones to rush to the bookstore to buy it.
True.
So
But you already have to
through
be
that.
a pretty big Sanderson fan to have read this book in the first place. Nobody's really picking up this book on their first read because we told you not to. That's
this person did on their review. It says, mystical premise. This is the first book I've read by Sanderson.
Shocker.
I enjoyed his world building. I also appreciated his essential character, Dusk. He was compelling. On the other hand, I felt Starling was a little simplistic for my taste.
Agreed.
As well, the villain did not hold my attention. Overall, a good listen.
Crazy.
You have a lot to read.
I know. Yeah, I cannot imagine what they experienced.
So the internet's overall, we would agree, is a pretty positive review.
Very positive. I think 4.58 is pretty good. I think anything on Goodreads that's over 4 stars is usually something that I enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's a fair marker.
It's time for our final review of the book Isles of the Emberdark by Brandon Sanderson. Jaden, we'll kick it off with you. I want to hear, what is your review?
Well, we've been building to this moment for the past, I don't know however long this video is. Might be kind of long. But my final review, my final rating of Isles of the Emberdark is an 8.9. Which I know comes as a surprise to Marty.
An absolute
But
shocker.
hopefully it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone else. Now, the major reason for this is I think this is one of the most diversely compelling books, stories that he's written. There's not just one main storyline with little ancillary stuff. There's multiple compelling, interesting storylines that go through interesting transformations. There's new stuff. There's old stuff that culminates in this book. I think it's a fantastic cap to the secret projects and my favorite secret project.
Would you say that Brandon Sanderson is back?
I would say that this story was excellent. I do think that my critiques are some of the same concerns that you have.
Yeah.
But I think the story of this one shone through excellently well.
I have a really hard time giving negative reviews, and it tends to put me more positive on the positive side. But this one I thought long and hard of.
Stay strong.
And I was going to give it a little bit more, a half rating more, but I decided not to.
Way to be strong.
Yes.
I can appreciate
My final review for this book is a 6 out of 10.
that. Wow.
Are you shocked with that?
I'm very shocked because that's below the recommended threshold.
That is below the recommended threshold. I'm
quite shocked by that.
I have friends who have read through the Cosmere. I have pushed them through the Cosmere. I have pushed them through Mistborn, through Way of Kings, and then all of a sudden, to get them let down with Wind and Truth, the next book that I recommend them cannot be this book, in my opinion.
That's actually a really good bellwether for a rating, I will say. Even though I disagree with you,
Sure.
it's a great way to put that.
Yeah.
Like you have to hit something out of the park with your next recommendation.
Yes. Because it was just, they had a hard time finishing Wind and Truth, and they barely finished it. I know people who almost didn't pick that book up again. Tudor Ramble was one of them.
Yeah, there are definitely some DNFs on Wind and Truth, and I can understand it.
And for me, giving Isles of the Emberdark to that person would not be the right move next. I feel like they would have to go with something else first, take a break from Brandon Sanderson, and take a cooling off period. Maybe if they haven't read, for some reason, some of the other Brandon Sanderson books, start there. Maybe some of the other secret projects or something like that.
To be fair, I think you and I have both recommended a few people go into Pierce Brown.
Yes.
And some like Red Rising or
and it has
Project
started to
Hail Mary
become my
stories.
go-to recommendation right now, and it's like, if you want a good book to read, go read Red Rising. But that's a podcast for another time.
That is a podcast for another time, but definitely an interesting way to wrap up our Isles of the Emberdark review.
Yes.
A lot of interesting things were discussed today that we might need to kick off into their own podcast episodes.
Yes, yeah. It was absolutely crazy. I don't think we've ever been more divided on a book before.
This might be the biggest gap we've ever had in a review. 2.9 full. That's just it's unheard of.
I'm just going to say
Unheard of.
It is the biggest gap.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I've
There's
already
no
put
way.
it a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads.
Wow.
Yeah, that harsh.
That is very harsh.
I know.
Not
it
the
is very harsh.
Goodreads ratings meeting.
Yeah, it's awful. 5 stars. How can you rate 5 stars? You got to be able to have the halves in there.
You need it. You absolutely need it. And it's one of those
Ridiculous.
things. You guys know, we know, everybody knows. But anyway,
know.
thank you so much for watching. We are excited to be continuing to bring this content out. And if you have any recommendations for future videos, any thoughts, any feedback, keep it coming in the comment section. That's literally one of the best parts of having this entire channel, is being able to read what you guys have to say. So keep it coming. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next chapter.